It's free. I love iHeartRadio. Join the millions of music, radio, and podcast fans on the #1 streaming radio app now.
iHeartRadio.
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 Free never sounded so good.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Whichever works out best for you to tune in, chime in, see the show, or just know what's going on. Hey, that's the right place for you to be as we continue our mission to have live local talk radio here in the borderland. Check mark there, but also to talk about the things going on. But, of course, today we take that a little bit farther, because not just going on and affecting us here in the borderland, but all those floodgates, because, yeah, it's been a pretty consequential week already before this week got started, but there's a lot going on and a lot to get into. So over on those various mediums, people are already queuing in and chiming in later, including a Patriot Chick over on the YouTube saying happy Friday the 13th. Yeah, that's a thing to be excited about. I mean, the spooky season implications sure are great, though there have been some other, the calls to action, so to speak, that, well, at least I haven't seen anything materializing in our immediate area, but just, keep a weather eye out, keep your head on a swivel, as they always say, but also others chiming in, including Mondo Manganda with the howdy over on the Twitch stream, and Buddy Baez with a very enthusiastic let's go over on the Facebook page. It's one of the better ways to chime in throughout here. But, of course, since it is Friday, and a very particular Friday indeed, but we're going to do it anyway, but this is Free-for-All Friday. That's what we call it. So, not that we're going to get into the this time around, but if you want to call any of that, I guess we can. But it is Free-for-All Friday, meaning that we are getting into all the things. And, yeah, there's been a lot going on since we've been doing it last. So, yeah, also with RJ and Calvin Williams, the TGIF, and, yeah, RJ referring to the, the other implications for Friday the 13th there about a Happy World Jihad Day. Yeah, there was a call for that. I'm just going to say anyone doing something based on what someone tells you to do online that you haven't looked up for yourself here is done with the first place, and maybe a psyop at the worst. But in any case, a lot going on here, including stuff locally. You got at least another candidate having thrown their hat into the ring for the El Paso election, district number 2, that has come up. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Also, a lot more going on in the state with Governor Greg Abbott finally. I know he's not usually this slow in the uptake anyway, but finally, I guess, finding the way he's going to kind of try to weave his way forward with this special session going on, saying that, yes, we'll do school finance, but only if you do my thing first. So, yeah, that's, I guess, might be not the most surprising thing. Just it took him a while, I do have to say. But other things going on, yeah, Buddy Vice putting it another way, the Day of Rage also being referred to there. So, yes, one of the biggest things that we have addressed indirectly, because it's been a little bit far afield, has, of course, been what's going on in Israel, the Gaza Strip, and the impending, I mean, it's already a war that has much been declared. But also there's rumors of, it always seems to have the possibility of spurring a larger regional conflict, particularly with regional players involved, even though there are peace overtures happening. I will just say this, that there is not much justification that can truly be said for the kickoff activities, even if the situation before this point was not exactly hunky-dory to begin with. When it comes to, peace in the Middle East has been a phrase that I can remember from my earliest days of being a conscious human being. So it's not exactly been a new problem. And even if there's no way you can say anything about this without ticking someone off online. So I'm going to put this as flatly as I can. Not that I'm entirely just saying, everyone has to be happy with this answer, but let me just put it this way. Atrocity does not justify further atrocity. Take that any way you want, and if you have a reason to be mad about it, I need you to say it for yourself one more time. Atrocity does not justify further atrocity. There is a big difference between wanting to see change, wanting to effectuate things, wanting to even secure your country, as opposed to civilians being hit, targeted, or anything like that. So again, just remember, atrocity does not justify further atrocity. Say as many times as you need to. But of course, there have been some local impact coming from that. I mean, there's the broader economic scope of there being potentially economic impacts from gas prices, supplies, and other things. No implications for the Suez Canal as of yet. I mean, technically, to this point, the biggest impact we've seen in recent years on that and international shipping, therefore, was a maritime accident in its own right. But, I mean, given the way scope of these things have happened previously, I'm not ruling it out, particularly if, again, this does become a wider regional conflict. Some of these, including that news update that we had just right at the top of the hour right now, for anyone tuning into that, about there being shots fired and deaths being caused in other areas, including southern Lebanon. So again, the powder keg nature of this whole situation, I do not feel can be overstated. I mean, it has existed for more than 70 years now. We're going back to 1948? Is that the actual one? So yeah, there's a lot. John Browsland saying, apparently I was never in the military. No, definitely wasn't. I've never made any claims of service. I know plenty of people who have worked alongside many members of the military, even in assistance or support capacities, but no, I have never served here. So not quite sure what you're getting on that one here. And the other body bias also saying Hezbollah now attacking northern Israel. That being Hezbollah being very much in the same vein in my mind as Hamas is overall, which is to say not a great one and not necessarily focused on anything besides statescraft, and blowing stuff up usually don't go that well together. Let's just put it that way. One set of skills goes into the first one, statecraft, and trying to build, resolve, and deal with things and let people live their lives. The other one tends to go strongly towards breaking things, which is, I guess, one of those reasons. I mean, sure, in the military, there's a lot of leadership capacity, and leadership ability certainly is important when we look in our elected officials, though I've always wanted to know a little bit more about someone's service record, because let's just say if you're coming from a grunt or any other platoon, you're definitely having, again, a skill set that goes largely towards breaking things. So I want to know a lot more about the non-breaking things aspect along with that. Not to say that breaking things isn't necessary sometimes, but if that's all you got, then I have many other questions. So this is to say, along with that whole situation, there's an argument that you can go back to literal prehistoric times, or at least biblical times, and tracing the roots of any of this parts of conflict. But I've said this before, and I'm definitely positive we're going to say this again before too long, unless people are willing to step back from the edge. I mean, if vengeance and rage, as the Day of Rage or other parts of it have been called for this, is the only motivating factor, that is going to be a very different situation from, I would say, even in these areas at question, the Gaza Strip, Israel as a whole, any of the other areas. The vast majority, it's the wish of most free peoples, or even those that are oppressed, to be free and to live without the threat of violence, oppression, or being killed in any case. And anyone saying that, yeah, but I need you to think about that but, and the thing you're saying, but, like, come on. If you're not on board with the first part of what you would want for yourself in your own life, of living free from these things, and this is not to say, and I'm not even trying to do both sides have their issues there. I mean, there has been, again, you can go back, arguably, pick a standpoint here, either modern era, more recent times, back to the end of World War II, or even the previous times. And, this is not to say that there are not definitely bad acts that have happened. Again, think about that one phrase: atrocity does not justify further atrocity. Plain and simple. End of story. So basically what it comes down to, but they did this thing, and that does happen, a phrase that can apply on either side of this equation of, but they did this thing, does not end up being something that is, conducive to no longer having those things happen. Now, I will say this, that the nature of the kick of this conflict is, there's been a lot of discourse that's been happening online along the idea of decolonization being a violent process, and yet you're going to have a hard time convincing me of there being that concept when it applies to making anything, therefore, a legitimate military topic and subject and, target. Because you start talking about music festivals as places that are, yes, this is a critical thing that must be taken down in order to effectuate our control and recapture of an area. I'm not buying that bridge or anything else that you're selling me when it comes to along that. So, again, there's not a lot of, in this situation and in the lead up to it, just real like, yes, everything here was done perfectly. If anything, in this case, this has been a situation, just referring to the Middle East and of these areas, Gaza Strip in particular, not a whole lot of great things have happened in decades in the overall progression of the issues. Anyway, I do have to say that. So, I mean, there are valid points to be made, including Eric Van Holstein-Rathlow saying it's impossible to live peaceably with people who want to kill you. And, I mean, yes, that is not very possible. I mean, I kept knowing what it is to live in either of these situations, in the Gaza Strip, anyone near it, or in Israel overall, the idea of there being the constant threat of death coming from the sky, because that is effectively the situation that exists, sounds intolerable. I can't even imagine it, to be perfectly honest with you. As much as in our region, we have talked about the possibility of there being drones being used for, not, I know some of there out there want that. I'm going to keep disagreeing with you on the idea of border security being forced with that, but of specifically being used for like anti-cartel operations. And even that brings way too much of a specter of, hey, have anyone ever actually looked up what like successful drone strike rates are? And for this one, okay, Israel and Palestine doesn't really apply for that kind of a thing, because there we're talking about rockets, airstrikes, etc. So it's a different situation. But in that one, I'd be thinking more like Eastern or Western Pakistan and Afghanistan, that kind of nebulous tribal area that existed particularly during the progression of the Afghanistan war. And I'm not going to say that that's something that I would even want to have the specter of appearing in our area. Now, much less, I mean, the technology that has been existed and deployed in those areas, including, of course, the infamous tunnels that exist in Gaza Strip, the operations of Hamas. And yes, there is definitely an issue of there being civilians affected on both sides of this here, but in different ways, whether it be the indiscriminate rocket strikes or the airstrikes that, again, the Israeli military claims is then focusing on military targets, but then ends up affecting personnel and, non-combat type people. And then, of course, the idea of Hamas using effectively mass human shields. The best way, I guess I've heard this described, is that we have an open air giant. I mean, we actually, what did we talk about in previous weeks? Some weeks ago, it's a little bit of a blur, but the whole concept of Escape from New York, the Snake Plissken movie, and the whole idea of turning entire Manhattan into an open air giant prison. Yeah, that's a pretty apt description in my mind for what has happened and essentially the situation in Gaza. Now, this is not to say that therefore anything is justified against it. I mean, Hamas could also then be called as the wardens, and the whole situation and the fact that there have not been, many of the population percentages of the Gaza Strip, even on its own, into the parts of millions, is that of refugees, still described as refugees. And so the general idea when it comes to refugees, unless you're just really committed to keeping people in one confined area, is to move on, resettle them, and get them out of the situation. So the fact that we do have, yes, there's been a lot of talk about Egypt's control on this and not letting things move out. They have agreed to some humanitarian corridors, to my understanding, as of most recently, but not for, say, evacuations in any kind of mass amount. So there's just in the comments right now, if y'all have the chance to go over and look at that, we have a lot of back and forth on many different aspects of this, many different inciting points. And it's, well, Eric Van Holstein-Rathlow putting it one way: Israel uses rockets to shield their children. Hamas uses children to shield their rockets. Or the idea of, okay, why are rockets being fired? There's a whole lot of problems. Again, there's not a whole lot that I've seen of people wanting to step away from the edge. I want to say we got close once, at least within my lifetime, of the Oslo Accords, among other things, but that was looked at, stared down hard, and then ultimately turned away from. So all I can say is that, again, unless a lot of people make a very conscious decision to step away from the edge and move away from not even just brinksmanship, but all-out war, and yes, even attempted removal of populations. There's a whole lot of the current policies that are coming in. And yeah, Calvin Williams say we could blame the Romans if we want to go back that far. And that's why I say there are even biblical implications if you start going back that far, which is why trying to, as often goes through, well, who started it is almost a fruitless endeavor in this whole situation. couple of things that I feel like are absolutes that I even have heard some disagreement on, but this doesn't even begin to make sense to me. Okay, Israel and Israelis have an undeniable right to exist. Palestinians, or the people who live in the Gaza Strip, West Bank, those areas, have an undeniable right to exist. They get to exist as people. There is no, yeah, but no. They get to exist as people. Now, there are people within those populations doing things. Again, Hamas, Hezbollah, once you go again to the northern part of it, and along the sides of, parts of the West Bank. I mean, seriously, you get into people who are, well, there's a whole lot of theories and political ideas that have been tried throughout history along the ideas, wouldn't it just be great if this people just didn't exist? It would be so much better, wouldn't it? And if anyone is still trying to apply that kind of a methodology and that of an idea, there's a better modern phrase for it. It's called genocide. And anyone really espousing that, saying, hey, let's just get rid of those people, yeah, that's what it is. And I don't care if it's just we just want them to move. Okay, and what if they don't want to move? Hell, I mean, yeah, that's what the logic ultimately ends up coming to. So anything that is going down that path, that nice little primrose one until you start getting to the bodies, is just continually unjustifiable. And anything that lends itself towards it, anything that is not an immediate rejection of that and moving away from it, is never going to solve anything, because I mean, it just basically you're getting towards, even beside and beyond the ethnic cleansing and genocide implications, it getting way too damn close to the idea of, well, peace on earth when everyone is dead. I mean, sure, nuke the whole region, everything will be fine then, except for the radiation and ash clouds that'll blanket everyone else, but there'll be peace there. And I think anyone reasonable in their minds will understand that that's not even just a dumb plan, but nothing that could ever be possibly viable. I mean, sure, let's not try to make the solution to any of this being one giant suicide pact, and maybe we'll be able to get out of this alive, but who knows? Anyway, that's just some of my pent-up thoughts that have been existing out of this whole week. I'm sure we've got more people wanting a lot more comments that have been going pretty fast and furious, including a lot more biblical stuff going on here, I will have to say. And I will say to John Brazelton, when it comes to the military talk, answering the question, in the military, you kill your enemy until he surrenders or goes away. So that last part of goes away, I mentioned a little bit of my thoughts on that, but of killing the enemy, again, it almost comes down to okay, then who is the enemy? Is it Hamas? Is it the people around Hamas? Is it anyone who has even said the word Hamas and not said immediately boo? Like, it becomes a target designation question. Again, there is such a thing as a legitimate military target. Anything that is a rocket launcher and is being used to actively fire against you, yeah, that would be. Now, of course, Hamas has taken the way they have developed things. They have operated much more as a guerrilla force than it is of open fighters. That was one of the big changes and big differences that has happened at the very beginning of this week and setting off the current set of events. Again, you can go back quite a long ways, but listen, if there's anyone who has ever said that, and I know some people on this show have said, hey, I got a simple solution to this, I'm calling horse pucky of a variety of ways, because if there was a simple way to get through this that, again, doesn't involve genocide, folks, that's the key here, it's never been either actually articulated, tried, or I would argue even particularly possible. We're dealing with people here, and groups of people, and people who have held and continue to hold, at least members of leadership and people in certain positions of power, things of saying that, hey, man, screw those guys, we're never going to do anything. Or, I mean, it's been messed up for functionally forever. That feels pretty fair. And to expect it to be solved through any one good idea or Facebook post or even online discussion, I don't know, a little bit of hypocrisy here, but hey, we're here to talk about it. So I'm not pretending that we've got solutions, but I've seen a lot of commentary back and forth about these people are evil, those people are evil, and the understanding that both sides have justifications for their actions, but that simply having a justification and not looking at, to say, the bigger picture of how do you actually deal with this without anything besides, again, genocide, is never going to work out. So I've gone quite a long time here, longer than our first segment. And of course, it is Free for All Friday, so that's been my soapbox for the minute, but we will take those calls and we will get to other points, as we do have other points going on here. And don't worry, we got plenty to talk about even then if people are feeling, and our phone lines aren't working. But in any case, if you want to call in during the show, of course, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
I-10 eastbound before Executive Center Boulevard, road debris is blocking 2 center lanes. On Vista del Sol, approaching Joe Battle North, an accident has the right lane blocked. I-10 eastbound is slow, 15-minute delays, Vincent down to Artcraft. Westbound I-10 from Red up to Trans Mountains, a 7-minute delay. Brief stop-and-go traffic on Gateway South, approaching Sean Haggerty. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
These days, high prices are forcing Americans to make hard decisions.
Do I buy the toothpaste or the toilet paper?
We have a better way. Inflation compensation. $1,000 price bustin' prize. Be listening for your shot to win a grand.
Inflation compensation on News Radio 690 AM is brought to you by Mazer Security Systems, providing El Pasoans state-of-the-art protection and peace of mind for more than 30 years.
This report is sponsored by Boost Infinite.
We're going abroad for the first time in years. To Spain.
But we don't speak Spanish.
So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks. Babbel's conversational method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish.
Estoy muy emocionado para ir a España contigo.
Aw, he just said, I'm very excited to go to Spain with you. Nos vamos a divertir mucho.
And that means we're going to have a lot of fun.
Sí. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
A lot of El Paso businesses would agree that it's getting harder to find new customers. After all, it's one thing to run a business and another to grow it. But what if you had access to everyone listening in the El Paso area right now? As the #1 audio company in America and market leader in El Paso, iHeartMedia gives you access to all of the customers you need to grow at a fraction of the cost of digital, video, and social advertising, but with twice the reach. Get started today. Go to iHeartAdvertising.com.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-522-5700. 800-522-5700.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Well, there's a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion, and a lot of things being talked about here, primarily with, yes, the week's big and continuing on events happening in the Middle East and the progression of the war between, primarily this moment between Israel and Hamas. But again, the idea of what could happen next and the potential escalation of this, because, I mean, it isn't just between Israel and the Gaza Strip. I mean, there has been an old argument, and to compare us out, of this being proxy between not even just regional, but international and beyond the region powers. I mean, look at those that are getting involved, or at least stepping in and trying to exert influence when it comes to the peace process, or calling for ceasefire, etc., those kind of things, which, at least at the very moment, some are more feckless or even laughable than others. I mean, you got Saudi Arabia wanting to broker things, kind of from the Arab side. You do have Russia asking for and trying to push through things, which is very interesting, given that they talk about the undeniable right for a country to exist and to defend its territory, which I'm just going to look a little bit, north and west on the map a little bit and wonder how that one ends up working out. Then, of course, the U.S. and its involvements. I mean, the statements that have been coming out from the White House, President Biden, among those things, have been interesting. And of course, the movement of one of America's biggest projection of power platforms, a carrier group, is no small things, particularly. So there's a lot of there's a lot of aspects and facets to this here. But again, it is Free for All Friday, so we'll keep talking about this, and we have a lot of comments that have come in, and I'll try to address some of those here right now. But in the meantime, if you do want to get on that line and address this or other things going on, of course, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM is the number to do so. So also have Edgar Ortiz joining us on board there as well, and other people chiming in like David Frickson saying, long-term peace? Yeah, no. So the Iron Dome defense was just for looks. I mean, yeah, it has been. The fact that that is a facet of life, and that, to my understanding, most Israeli homes, and definitely like major gathering points, businesses, public spaces, etc., are built in with shelters, bomb shelters, things to deal with things coming from the sky to explode. I can't even imagine what it would be like to live in that situation, nor could I imagine what it would be like even to before this point, much less now, live in the Gaza Strip or any of those other areas. West Bank a little bit less so, but there is still plenty of issues that come. I mean, even before this point, it could be argued that Hamas and some of the things were responses to Israeli settlement issues and the things of encroaching territory and of effectively taking away what was being hoped to be part of that two-state solution. Israel, I would say, as much as has been put forth in my analysis of the international relations of it, very much focused on territorial control and of effectively a single state solution, not really into the idea of ceding territory, ceding control unless absolutely necessary. I mean, they did control the Sinai at one point, but that is now back with Egypt because that just probably wasn't going to work out that well. In any case, point is that we have a lot of people in positions of power within either of these situations, either within the, again, Hamas and not so much the Palestinian Authority, but the PLO is basically a paper tiger at this point in time, is the best way I can estimate that. And so, again, primarily issue here has been Gaza and between the surrounding areas in Israel. And again, what I started this with is that atrocity does not justify further atrocity. And if there's any confusion about that, just say it again. So in response to Eric von Holstein-Rathlow saying, justify murdering innocent people at a music festival, justify beheading babies, justify burning people alive, there is no justification. There is no way to justify that because, again, there is a huge, monumental difference between decolonization, again, the idea that has been put forth as the raison d'etre, the reason for existence of this, and the resistance overall that has happened, and the way that this has then played out. If you were to, another way of putting it here, and I think that kind of goes on Graham's question, was your opinion about Hamas says about killing all Jews? Yeah, atrocity does not justify further atrocity, and anything going towards genocide is never going to be justifiable. But one other comment that came in, Hazelnut Megan, like the name over on YouTube, saying if an attack like that had happened here, we would make sure the enemy group was destroyed while trying to keep civilian casualties to a minimum. And I would have to say that, I mean, yes, as a standard playbook, absolutely. Now, if that has been a complicating factor or totally the purpose within the response, there is another question entirely from when it comes to the Israeli military response. But I will say that if any operation involving the United States military had done anything either the way Hamas is, or frankly, even because, let's be perfectly honest, the Israeli military has an incredibly aggressive approach. It was, to my understanding from people who have been in the service, it was the U.S. that learned about how to deal better with urban warfare from the Israelis, because it used to be that we would, try to keep collateral damage to a minimum, go around things, whereas it was the Israelis, again, to my understanding, and the Israeli military that pioneered where you need to deal with something in that block area, so we're not going to drive around the buildings, we're going to drive through the buildings, among other things. It's also, and something I've studied previously, that a crowd control weapon used by Israeli military is actually just a straight up 22 rifle. I mean, suppressed, but as opposed to like tear gas or beanbag rounds. So I'm just going to say there are some very different military philosophies at play here. Let's just put it that way. So yeah, there's a lot of not good going on in this, and there's a lot of, I think, decision makers at all levels in either portion of this conflict that are doing things that are trying to say, hey, again, there's a difference between legitimate military targets, trying to dismantle systems of control and trying to gain control of an area, as opposed to wiping out everyone that is there and doing punitive at the very least, and not even punitive in the slap on the wrist kind of thing, but in the harming everyone. I mean, what was it said during World War II, that particularly of the way of, like the Dresden firebombing and even the firebombings happening in Japan, of which was definitely done. It was said by at least one notable Air Force general at the time that had we lost the war, the Nuremberg trials would have been happening for Air Force generals at that point in time. So, yeah, there's there's a lot of messed up here, and there's a lot of, I'm sure, people getting frothy in the mouth on either way of this, because there tends to be a lot of single perspective on this, and a lot of, well, these people are right no matter what. And tell me any other situation in the world that has ever existed that has been the case here. So I'm sure that now, as we got some phone calls coming in, that we're going to have a totally rational and level-headed discussion about all of this, because that's how that works. But I tell you what, we got phone calls coming. Actually, the phone line's just filled up. We're going to take a minute to deal with that and get back to all of the other comments here, among other things. So let's do that. Take that break. If you're on the line, stay there. Again, if you want to squeeze on the line, as we'll let you know when lines are available full up at the moment, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
From the CBS 4-1 Weather Center, this is meteorologist Evan Regan. Well, after a breezy couple of days here in El Paso and Las Cruces, we do start to die down the winds today. Much calmer conditions for the day today. Also going to be cooler in the upper 70s to low 80s across the area. 82 in El Paso, 78 up in Las Cruces. From the CBS 4-1 Weather Center, this is meteorologist Evan Regan.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound before Executive Center Boulevard, road debris is blocking 2 center lanes. On Vista del Sol, approaching Joe Battle North, an accident has the right lane blocked. I-10 eastbound is slow, 15-minute delays, Vinton down to Artcraft. Westbound I-10 from Red up to Trans Mountains, a 7-minute delay. Brief stop-and-go traffic on Gateway South, approaching Sean Haggerty. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Overall, fairly quiet weather for the weekend. Winds not going to be an issue. We're going to see nice, cool mornings and warm afternoons. High around 84 degrees, mostly sunny skies for your Saturday afternoon. Mostly sunny for your Sunday, high around 85. As we look into next week, Monday, a little cooler, partly cloudy skies, high around 83. And then we'll see partly cloudy skies for your Tuesday, high 87. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by the Texas Department of Transportation. Whether you're from the great state of Texas or just passing through, remember to do your part to keep Texas roads clean. That means keeping your trash until you find a trash can. Remember, don't mess with Texas means don't litter. Brought to you by the Texas Department of Transportation.
Cold weather will be here soon. Get your chimney and air duct system cleaned by Southwest Chimney. You'll breathe better, your system will be more efficient, and you will enjoy the warmth of the fire. Southwest Chimney sells, installs, and repairs existing fireplaces. They also sell a variety of glass doors, gas logs, and fireplace accessories. For a more efficient dryer, don't forget to have your dryer vent cleaned. Visit them at 1421 North Lee Trevino or southwestchimney.com. That's southwestchimney.com. Mention radio and get 5% off on any service.
Hi, I'm Scotty Clark from Scott Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing. The heat is back, so get ready, El Paso. It's going to be a long, hot summer. At Scott Heating and Cooling, we're ready to help you maintain and service your home and business HVAC system. We service all major brands of heating and cooling equipment, as well as commercial kitchen equipment and walk-in freezers. With appointments available 7 days a week, make an appointment online or call Scott Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing today at 915-595-4529.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Check out great deals at Albertsons and Safeway. This week at Albertsons and Safeway, get value packs of bone-in Sanderson Farms whole chicken or leg quarters for just 89 cents per pound. First two, a digital coupon. Plus, get Honeycrisp apples or Bartlett pears for $1.49 per pound. This report is sponsored by Cars Safeway.
Text and whatever. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
In 50 feet, turn left.
Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Stay tuned and stay informed with News Radio 690 KTSM, an iHeart radio station. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in. However you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of people tuning in, chiming in there, adding their 2 cents, already getting up into the low hundreds of comments there, if I'm not mistaken. But dropping those likes and reacts that we certainly appreciate, including Ida Beza Gardner, Richard Janisic, Sean Gardner, James Ratcliffe, Calvin Williams, RJ, and Buddy Vias. Now more than ever, we take those as being liking the ability to have this discussion, even not necessarily liking any specific aspect or specific things we are talking about, because, well, Patriot Chick and other decent summarizations here saying war is evil, and anytime that destruction is the goal. Let's put it this way. If you want to find a reason to try to eliminate something, someone, some people, some group, some area, there is always going to be a reason that can be found. Whether it's a good reason or not, a completely different debate, one I'm not addressing at this particular moment, but there's always going to be able to be a reason that is found. And I would argue the same thing about when trying to find reasons to not do that. But whatever one ends up winning the day is the, well, thing that world history is made out of. So again, this current situation, look, when it comes to the existence of Israel as a whole, it has been defined by conflict and of repelling many different things, whether it be the invasions of neighbors, whether it be of internal things. I mean, an Ernest Brummett thing, we just need to hug our kids at this point. This is one of the many reasons I'm damn grateful to be where we are, when I'm sitting here right now, as many as there are many things in the world that I am just super unhappy about and wish were not the case, not happening. The fact that we live in this place where we are right now, again, for those of us here in West Texas, Southern New Mexico, surrounding regions, in one of, even despite situations like this, the most peaceful eras of human history. Because, I mean, as much as this may seem like, wait, you're calling this peaceful? It's a comparative phrase, most peaceful in history, because I mean, let's look at, well, when we're talking about the immediate beginning point of the existence of Israel, that of World War II, and the millions dying in that. I mean, there's more people on the planet than have ever been on the planet. What are we at? 8 billions now is some of the estimations. And so, and information moves so much faster. We find out about everything going on. Like, okay, going back to the Vietnam era, it took the actual, I mean, there were some radio broadcasts and bulletin updates, but it took the footage coming back, that had to be shipped back in the actual film coming back. So it would have been weeks, if not months, before the images and the things that we are seeing right now would have been able to come back, versus a few years ago when I happened to be in Italy and was able to FaceTime with my family from within the main square there in Venice. I mean, technology is completely different. That would have been unthinkable even a few years prior to it. So things move faster and information moves faster than it ever has before. So we are finding out about this almost up to the minute. It was over on my Twitter feed right now, or X, whatever, and seeing things and updates on airstrikes and or the shootings off of missiles and rockets in the moment would have been almost impossible. You go back to like the 90s, and what did CNN become famous for? Was the guy, the Scud Stud, giving you the live updates as much as possible, and even that was grainy as hell footage. So the fact that this is even possible now is one of the hugest differences in the timeframes of human history. The access of information without having to have your own dedicated intelligence network it's unprecedented. And even then, I mean, you go back even just 100 years and it would have been unthinkable to even get that level by the most. And yeah, another good one from Ernest there. We are fighting the most well-documented wars in history. The fact that I can watch live feeds and even drone footage feeds coming out from this, Ukraine, any of these other places, there is it's objectively nuts. But we've been on this soapbox for a minute. We are going to do phone lines here, so let's dive right into that. Again, that phone number, if you want to get on, just remember to stay on the line there. We had at least a couple drop off or no answers. So just no, we're going to get you. If you can hear the show when you're on hold, you're in the right place. But and lines are full up at the moment. But we do have Robert over in Chaparral on the line with us here right now. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Hey, can you hear me, Andrew? Thank you.
Oh, hear you just fine there. What's on your mind?
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to also cover the Israel-Hamas issue, but I think it came up a couple times, but more from a biblical standpoint and where it comes from. I wanted to share from Psalm 83 says, "Oh God, do not remain silent." And a lot of this Psalms, there's a lot of prophecies in the Old Testament, and this Psalm in particular is a prophetic psalm, and it hasn't come to pass yet. And I'll read it. "Oh God, do not remain silent." As far as I know, it hasn't come to pass yet. "Oh God, do not remain silent. Do not turn a deaf ear. Do not stand aloof, O God. See how your enemies growl, how your foes rear their heads. With cunning they conspire against your people. They plot against those you cherish. Come, they say, let us destroy them as a nation, so that Israel's name is remembered no more. With one mind they plot together. They form an alliance against you. The tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarites, Byblos, Ammon, Amalek, Philistia, with the people of Tyre, even Assyria has joined them to reinforce Lot's descendants. Do to them as you did to Midian, as you did to Sisera and Jabin, and name some others. Make their nobles like Horeb, who said, let us take possession of the pasture lands of God. Make them like tumbleweed, my God, like chaff before the wind, as fire consumes the forest or a flame sets the mountains ablaze. So pursue them with your tempest and terrify them with your storm. Cover their faces with shame, O Lord, so that they will seek your name. May they ever be ashamed and dismayed. May they perish in disgrace. Let them know that you, whose name is the Lord, that you alone are the most high over all the earth. And they consider this a prophetic psalm because it hasn't come to pass yet. That's not a recorded attack in history. But as you may know, and as many may know, Hagarites, for instance, that's the Hagar with the woman who gave birth to Ishmael through Abraham, and of course Ishmael, the son. But they show her respect by giving her own people. But Ishmael, and if we read in as well Genesis 16, where Ishmael, we read about the prophecy of Ishmael, which is to me a very poignant prophecy in the Bible. The angel of the Lord also said to her, "You are now pregnant, and you will give birth to a son. You shall name him Ishmael, for the Lord has heard of your misery. He will be," talking about Ishmael, and just listen, knowing the people of Ishmael, "he will be a wild donkey of a man. His hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. And he will live in hostility toward all his brothers." And this was a prophecy over 3,000 years ago, predicting who Ishmael would be. And of course, the descendants of Muhammad in 600 AD, Ishmael is their descendant and everything. And so it shows that even, I mean, these are cousins. Isaiah, the people of Israel and Ishmael are cousins, and they should be in agreement with each other. But even here it says that Ishmael, or let's call Islam, the people of Islam now would be in war with one another. And I want to bring us back to the 6-Day War, which happened in 1967. If we remember, and I won't get into the Balfour Declaration and all that other stuff.
It has been brought up in the comments previously.
Yeah, the 6-Day War, and at the 6-Day War, as we know, Israel was attacked by 5 Arab nations, states that day, also after its creation in 1947, the day after its creation in 1947, it was also attacked by 5 nations. In 1967, with no provocation, I guess, except the hatred in history, as with what we saw last Saturday, that 5 Arab states attacked Israel. And this included Jordan and Egypt. Israel won that war. They were attacked. They won that war. They won the Gaza Strip. They won the West Bank, and as well as the Golan Heights. And Gaza Strip at that time was ran by Egypt. It was a property of Egypt.
Right.
The West Bank at that time was a property or ran by Jordan and everything. And I firmly believe that because Jordan was the one pressing in that war, I firmly believe that Jordan was kind of pushed into it and everything. And they were defeated within 6 days. But anyways, Gaza Strip and the West Bank were won. They weren't occupied. Israel didn't move in there and occupy them and just suddenly start a war. They were victors in a battle that these nations brought up against them. And for people to say they are occupiers in the remotest sense of they moved in upon them is not being truthful. And so, and Egypt itself, Egypt can open their borders and they can take refugees in, but are they? No, because brothers against brothers. Jordan can open their borders and take in refugees, but are they? No, they can't, because brothers against brothers and everything. And I've known and have talked with others that have lived in those kibbutz or those areas, and people in Palestinians and regular Jews lived in peace and harmony with one another, and they never expected this. And yet the Palestinian people are Hamas. They voted in, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was 2006, 2008, they voted for Hamas to be their leadership. And Hamas—
So I'm going to disagree with you slightly on that one. It was the more reasonable way to paraphrase it is that basically Hamas kind of overtook politically, yes, initially, and then militarily, particularly in the Gaza Strip area, because they kicked out the PLO, the Palestinian Authority, basically calling them, the best way I've heard it summarized is too secular. Among other things here. So, I mean, you bring up some interesting things, and I tell you what, I'll indulge this for a minute, but just as a general reminder, we do ask that if you have any statements or anything that you want us to read or reference, that you go ahead and submit that to us. We do not usually allow for the reading of things here. I understand you're trying to give it as part of perspective, but that is the general rule. We're putting this forth here. So let me put it this way, because we're actually coming up on the need for that next break right now, is that, yes, Hamas, but trying to call the Palestinian people as Hamas and one at the same, Hamas loves that idea. By the way, they would want to say, oh, yeah, I don't know, everyone is with us. When in the meantime, again, the best way I've heard it phrased and find myself agreeing with is that Gaza Strip is an open air prison and Hamas is the jailers of it. Because among the other geopolitical things going on beyond this, the idea of, opening up the refugees and letting people go out of there, there is actively forces that do not want that to happen, either within Israel, either with, well, not within Israel, but forces in there, but within the Gaza Strip or within the other parts like Egypt, among other things. Again, the question of why don't they end up opening their borders? Because, I mean, if the people were to vacate that area, then it becomes part of the lacking of justification of continued action in this way. So having it, I mean, they're practically hostages in their own right by the people that have therefore seized control. Again, maybe initially politically, but I don't think anyone in their right mind would have signed up for this. And to think that any majority of the population, particularly now, is being like, yeah, no, I'm fine getting bombed as long as we do this thing. I'm sure there's someone out there that thinks like that. But anytime we're talking about mass populations and the punishment being put on them in certain ways, it's not ending up being the vast majority of people who are happy about it, but a few, real crazy individuals. You start talking about Hitler and his bunker kind of thing, saying that, well, the German people are just going to have to die about it. And just call it anyone thinking at that point that everyone's still in agreement with him. Then again, you can't say too much bad about Hitler because, he was the guy who killed Hitler, right? Okay, that's a bad joke and a lighthearted way to end this segment. But let's just put it this way, that saying that, again, Israel deserves to exist, Palestinians, people in this area, they deserve to exist. And anything besides that, any solution that comes besides anything that doesn't start with those here, and again, I'm just going to keep coming back to it, the atrocity does not justify or further atrocity, and it never will. Now, there's more finer parts to get into, including, you mentioned the occupation there, or the concept of it that has been part of, the what is the boycott, BDS is, I forget the actual full part of it. What the full statement of it is, but I'll say this, that there have been other finer points that, West Bank and the Gaza Strip were supposed to be preserved for a Palestinian full state, and that it has been whittled away at by settlement efforts. So there's a whole lot to go into further in here, but in any case, you got to take. I do appreciate the point in the call, but we got to take that next break right now. So appreciate that there, Robert. We got to take that next break. Coming out of this break, we'll get to more calls and more comments on the line. So if you want to add your 2 cents, that number to do so is 915. Well, line's full up at the moment, but give it a second. 915-544-5876. 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
No new freeway crashes in the borderland right now. I-10 eastbound is slow with 17-minute delays. Vinton to Artcraft. Slow traffic Montana eastbound. Yarborough out to Zaragoza, 5-minute delays. At earlier crash, Vista del Sol approaching Joe Battle North is cleared. All lanes are back open there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Cars Safeway.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Want to save big on custom faux wood blinds, shutters, cellular shades, and more? Shop Blindster today and save up to 50% over comparable blinds from brick and mortar stores. Get custom blinds at low prices and free shipping at Blindster.com.
You know when you wake up and your mouth feels gross and you just can't wait to brush your teeth to get that clean, fresh feeling again? That's exactly how millions of Navage users feel when they use powered suction to rinse out their noses every day, just like brushing their teeth. Once you're able to breathe deeply without congestion, you never want to be without it. That's why so many people rave about Navage, with over 100,000 online reviews. Feel the Navage difference for yourself. In less than a minute a day, you'll feel immediate relief from seasonal allergies and congestion after the very first use. Navage will also help you sleep deeper, snore less, and feel healthier, naturally, without drugs. Start breathing clearly again with Navage. Navage is available at Walmart, Walgreens, Target, CVS, Rite Aid, and online at Navage.com. Navage. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Stay informed at KTSMradio.com.
Keep your family and livelihood safe with a stable security system from Mazer Security Alarms. Your trusted El Paso security experts since 1982. You can get the best. Systems start at under $35 per month with upfront purchase to lease options and $0 down payment packages available. Get the peace of mind you deserve with Mazer Security Alarms. For your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033. Mazer Security Alarms.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
This is Ernie Johnson Jr. Sports is about overcoming obstacles, and college coaches work hard to help young men overcome Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It's called Coach to Cure MD, and you can help. Text the word CURE to 501-501 to donate $25 on your next mobile phone bill, or go online to coachtocuremd.org. Text the word CURE to 501-501. Help coaches cure MD.
Sponsored by the American Football Coaches Association. Texting and data rates may apply.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Get the appliances you need right away at Lowe's. Explore the largest assortment of brands you trust in-store or online at the best values. Plus, take advantage of their everyday financing offers. Lowe's knows home improvement, subject to credit approval.
Stay informed at KTSMradio.com. News on the hour and the half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Israeli forces are reportedly inside Gaza searching for hostages before a possible ground assault. Israel has ordered 1 million civilians to leave northern Gaza to stay out of harm's way. Israel massed well over 300,000 reservists and several armored divisions near the border with Gaza over the past several days. While speaking in Philadelphia today, President Biden detailed how the U.S. is aiding humanitarian efforts.
At my direction, our teams are working in the region, including communicating directly with the governments of Israel, Egypt, Jordan, and other Arab nations, and the United Nations to surge support and humanitarian consequences for Hamas attack to help Israel.
House Republicans are tapping Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan to be their party's nominee for Speaker. Jordan was selected during a vote behind closed doors this afternoon. He defeated Georgia Representative Austin Scott, who made a surprise entrance into the race hours earlier. Healthcare workers across the country have reached a tentative agreement with Kaiser Permanente. Kaiser and the union have been locked in a labor dispute for months, and workers led a 3-day strike last week. Now union members will vote whether to ratify the new pending contract. Union leaders say the agreement includes competitive wages and benefits, plus development and training to boost staffing. Global energy prices are climbing higher as risks worry investors. Lisa Taylor has more.
According to CNN, the main cause for rising oil and gas costs is the conflict in Israel and fears it could continue into the wider region known for oil production. One expert said even as we see U.S. oil production hit record levels, there could be a major shock to supplies in the near future. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Russia is launching a fierce attack on the eastern Ukraine city of Avdiivka. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. The investigation into who leaked the recording of the now infamous conversation between Los Angeles officials and a union boss has been sent back to the LAPD. District Attorney George Gascon's office considered the case but said it requires more investigation. 2 former Los Angeles County Federation of Labor employees face potential felony eavesdropping charges. The Florida judge in rapper YNW Melly's retrial says he cannot move forward until he knows who will replace the prosecutor he recused from the case yesterday for alleged misconduct.
But I need to know about the attorney, because I need to know when I can schedule hearings.
That's Broward Circuit Judge John Murphy asking the state to select a new prosecutor. The state explained that the replacement needs time to get up to speed on the case.
For a new prosecutor to take over this double homicide, asking for the death penalty, it's a case. That's a lot for a prosecutor to last minute to be trying to learn.
Jury selection in YNW Melly's murder retrial is set to begin next week, pending a replacement prosecutor. Karen Curtis, Miami.
Today is a scary day for some, and it's not even Halloween yet. Bree Tennis explains.
If you're superstitious, today, Friday the 13th, is unlucky. Although there's no proof today is unluckier than any other day, but many people believe it is. There's no floor 13 in most office buildings or hotels, and historians have no idea why we're afraid. If you're among the 1 in 5 YouGov says is afraid of today, don't worry, the next one won't be here until September of 2024. I'm Bree Tennis.
A Bigfoot sighting is being reported in Colorado. The New York Post says the legendary woodland ape may have been spotted recently by a couple of tourists on a scenic train ride between Durango and Silverton. Shannon Parker says she and her husband were looking for elk in the mountains when they saw what appeared to be Bigfoot. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Deposit. That's deposit. Enter it now.
Now, you can relive the greatest moments from our 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Streaming only on Hulu.
Lenny Kravitz kicks things off with his biggest hits.
Foo Fighters get the whole crowd singing along.
Tim McGraw debuts his new song live.
Public Enemy brings the 90s hip-hop energy.
Fall Out Boy covers a classic while literally on fire. And so much more.
Relive the greatest moments from our iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Streaming now only on Hulu for a limited time.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Want to save big on custom faux wood blinds, shutters, cellular shades, and more? Shop Blindster today and save up to 50% over comparable blinds from brick and mortar stores. Get custom blinds at low prices and free shipping at Blindster.com.
Hammer and Nails, El Paso's newest men's grooming destination with your comfort and privacy in mind, and where your favorite brew, spirit, or mixed drink will be waiting for you along with every cut, shave, manicure, or pedicure visit. Open daily at the Fountains at Farrah, Hammer and Nails offers world-class luxury experiences without the pretentious price tag. Visit Hammer and Nails Grooming Shop for for guys online at hammerandnailsgrooming.com to book your next experience. That's hammerandnailsgrooming.com.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Why is iHeartRadio the #1 streaming radio app? Free music.
Free live radio stations from all over the country.
Free podcasts.
Free playlists.
Free contests. Free artist radio stations.
Commercial-free stations. It's free. I love iHeartRadio. Join the millions of music, radio, and podcast fans on the #1 streaming radio app now.
iHeartRadio.
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 Free never sounded so good.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Oh, it's a free-for-all Friday, y'all, and this is definitely among some of the other big ones. Yeah, there's been a lot going on, and yes, does have international implications, but we'll take on any subject here. So this is by no means going to be the let's talk about everything Israel, Palestine, conflict, regional, Middle East, peace in the Middle East. We're not going to solve that today by any means, but also we will take the other calls here. We do have some callers on the line, but the lines are all available as well. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And yes, so when it comes to the Day of Rage, International Jihad, World Jihad Day, there we go, implications. Yeah, I'm still pretty sure nothing's going. I haven't heard of anything substantive around here. RJ did ask earlier, saying, you sure nothing going on around here? Gadsden and Chaparral football game canceled. We play tomorrow morning without fans. Yeah, I mean, sure, I can understand how that may seem fishy, but in this case, as reported on by our news partners at KFOX 14, reports of an alleged altercation happened in the Toole School's junior varsity game on Wednesday, and the Gadsden Independent School District, Travis Dempsey, told KFOX he was forced to postpone the game due to threatening social media comments online, saying, quote, really, some of the statements have gotten out of hand, and I really need adults to model behavior we are asking of kids. And so further from our news partners at KFOX 14, they have the 911 calls of supposedly multiple Gadsden High School football coaches punching JV players from Chaparral High School during Wednesday's game. So, I mean, sure, I guess I get the idea of, hey, this was supposed to be something we were watching out for. What's going on here? Really, when it comes, okay, Occam's razor kind of in this case, what's more likely to happen during a kid's game of international jihad implications, or parents and adults getting way the hell out of hand when it comes to kids' sports? What has happened way more often, let's put it that way, in this country and in this area? So, I mean, I'm not totally blaming you, but that's what we got so far. In any case, yeah, there's more questions and comments and other things coming in, including, there's at least one other comment. John Browselton saying when it comes to biblical implications, there's a lot of that discussion going on in the comments. Him saying that there's a big difference in attitudes between the Old and New Testaments. I would firmly agree with you there. The best way and the best summary I've ever heard on this one is that the New Testament reads like God would be narrated by Morgan Freeman. The Old Testament reads like God would be narrated by Samuel L. Jackson. Take from that exactly what you will. In any case, let's go ahead and get back to those comments here now. And RJ also remembering other fights happening in the past. I mean, things are So the more things change, the more they stay the same sometimes. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back to those phone calls. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. We do have Frankie and Messia on the line with us here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right, how am I coming through? Am I breaking up or anything?
Nope, that sounds pretty good there. What's on your mind?
Okay, listen, here's the thing. It looks to me like there's two big major issues going on right now. It's just the conservative kooks trying to get a speaker, and then you've got this horrible situation again for the umpteenth time in the Middle East. Now, I'm going to talk about that. I had to refresh my memory. Why is it that so many in this world, humans, don't like the Jews? I had to research that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back all the way to 655 BC. You could even go farther back than that. I don't care.
Correct.
But here's listen, many of you out there don't realize that I'm originally from New York, okay?
Never would have guessed.
In New York, we have a polyglot of humanity.
Sure.
You got Irish, you got Polish, you got German, you got every ethnic circumstance in the world. Now, I want to tell you something. Listen to me, clear as a bell here. I didn't care. There was these beautiful, beautiful Jewish girls. At least I had 5, 6. We'd go out and have a lot of fun together. Beautiful girls, very screwed on, heads screwed on. And they also like beer and whiskey, by the way. Now, the guys were kind of screwy. But who cared? They used to invite me to their homes. They would have, like, a Jewish a Seder.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, the way I was, okay, I didn't experience this. So what's this all about? Okay, this is their little shtick. But I got to tell you, the Seder, at the end of the meal, they had desserts that would die for. I'm going to tell you that. But let me tell you, this is nuts. This is ridiculous. Okay, I don't care if you're Jewish, if you're Polish, you're Christian, you're Muslim, I don't care. The point is, you want to believe what you want to believe, that's fine. But if you want to go out and just personally, one-on-one to that individual, there's nothing wrong with that. This nutso stuff, and we can go back historically again, like the whole British protectorate thing, the assigning Israel, the whole 9 yards. I don't care. The point, maybe because I'm so old, I don't care. If you're a nice person, if you're fun, if you have your head screwed on right, I don't care. If you're a good person, why do I care if you want to believe this or that? As long as you don't get in my face about some off-the-wall nonsense. But if you're a square-away person, I'm going to love you to death. And that's my opening comment.
I mean, there's I can't quite say it the way I want to in this medium, but that religion or opinions in general, but specifically in this case, religion is like, it's like genitalia. It's fine if you got one. It's fine if you're proud of it. But if you start waving it around or shoving it in my face, I'm going to start having an issue with it kind of thing here. And I very much do. I think that's a pretty decent way of summarizing it, because you can have the most sincerely held beliefs and live it, and hopefully live it and put it into practice in your own life. But I will also say that at a certain point, when it moves beyond the personal decision, it starts becoming a decision you are making for other people. And I don't really care which bent this ends up taking. That is literally what the founding of this country was about. I mean, yes, there was a lot of different Christian denominations. Basically, every different member of the original 13 colonies had one major denomination or another. I mean, we had Catholics. There were, the Pilgrims and all of that, even though there's more vagaries of history. They did not wear buckled hats, the Pilgrims that landed in Plymouth. Let me just put it that way. But the point is, they all realize that, we all want our own freedom to do what we want. So to therefore say that everyone else has to do what we are, well, what if we're no longer in control, no longer in power? We're going to have to do what they want us to do. Let's just secure it for ourselves, and that where everyone can do it. That is what the United States is about. And so we are a rejection of this idea of there being any, hey, no, you have to live this way. I mean, that's the entire idea, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It's not a pursuit of happiness in this one particular way. It's a freedom to do as you choose, as long as, again, with the recognition that your rights end where someone else's begin. Sure, you can swing your arms around as much as you want. You have the freedom to do that, but if you happen to do it into someone's nose, yeah, you no longer have the freedom to do that at that point because you are then impinging on someone else's. And so that is one of the things that has set the United States apart and has influenced a lot of the idea. I mean, going to the French Revolution immediately afterwards and things like that of this idea. And then the way they put it, liberty, equality, fraternity, that again took its own weird bents. Guillotines come to mind, among other things. So this is so much to say that if you are going to, I mean, a live and let live kind of mentality works great as long as there's not someone, I mean, what's the other idea of tolerance and being saying, like, hey, I don't agree with you, but as long as you're living your life the best you can and I'm able to do mine, hey, that's what we do. And that's how this should work out. But tolerance often ends up falling, and its major foible is the idea of therefore tolerating the intolerable. That is, which is trying to seek to destroy the intolerance. You can't really be tolerant of someone saying, no, everyone has to agree with me, otherwise I'm going to them. Like, that is not something that can be tolerated. So yeah, there's just a lot of messed up that has happened in this situation. And again, unless a lot, and I do mean a lot, of individuals and hopefully those in leadership decide to step away from the ledge, and this could also be writ large on world politics overall, but focusing on the specific circumstances we're talking about there for a minute, unless that decision is made and held to. But the problem is that the most persuasive and currently in power types of ideologies that exist end up being pretty hardline. And again, I'm not necessarily blaming anyone for saying that, hey, man, screw those guys, they've ruined my life, and those kind of mentalities. But unless something is looked beyond that, well, we've had the same problem in a much less way with U.S. politics of a my way or the highway. If there is a compromise being a dirty word, you could actually read that as part of what is going on with the current, as you started off the call with, a Speaker of the House debate. And we'll see how it works out for Jim Jordan. I'm not going to hold my breath on any of this actually ending up going through because, I mean, would it take 15 times the first time around? Yeah, if they beat that record, I'm going to be mildly surprised here. And by getting it under it, I mean. So there's a lot of connection that could be made here. But let's just say this, that don't be a jerk is a pretty good way and the way I try to live my life. And anyone who is rejecting that, I tend to have issue with.
Well, everything you said, I really don't have any problem. I could pick a couple of points you said. But here's the thing, especially with the Middle East thing they're talking about. With the Jewish religion, and going back historically, the majority of people that were against the Jews and everything else specifically came down to religion. They found, how dare you think that you are the special people of God when we, in different religions, I don't care what you want to say, we think God loves us. I don't care. This is stupid. This religion thing is going to destroy humanity 14 different ways of Sunday. I will say this one last thing here. Right? Oh, no, I want to say something. Maybe next Friday I'm going to talk about that. But yesterday, you had some guy getting on my case. How dare I, Messiah Frankie, talk about El Paso issues? Now, you came up and explained kind of soft-heartedly that Frankie has every right to say what he wants to say because he's Southwest Florida. But I went up and hammered this guy. How dare he say that about me? That's my ending comment.
Fair enough. I made it clear that also I'm a little bit dubious about some of his legal takes, particularly about the Texas 51% signs, because the reading of the sign contradicts his closing statement. But, I mean, we are Talk El Paso. That is the name, but it is absolutely a part of the whole region. I mean, again, our broadcast covers many counties nearby directly on a good, clear night if the atmospherics work out right, even further than that. And, of course, on the internet, it goes everywhere. So it's a regional talk show. That's the way we've always talked about it. So anyone saying that, well, we're not talking about, okay, so when you start talking about the parts of El Paso, just El Paso County, is it only the city limits of El Paso? Is only certain districts in there? No, it's about, because this is all many interconnected issues. And so that's the way we'll keep doing it here. So you know what, Frankie, we'll keep doing it. Don't worry.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because I enjoy listening to this radio program and chiming in. But when somebody says, I can't say something because I am not specifically local, I think stinks. Now, that's my ending. Anyway, have a good weekend, Andrew.
You too there. Appreciate the point of the call. You have a good one there as well.
All right, take care.
All right, with that, we will take that next break right now. We got more calls on the line, and we'll, of course, keep getting to them as we do through the progression of this second hour of the show. You are tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Free for All Friday is definitely fully underway here, folks. So if you want to get on the line there and add your 2 cents, line now available. One call ends and never becomes available. Kind of the way it works on Fridays. 915-544-5876. 915-544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
A crash involving a couple of vehicles southbound in the loop at Montana in the East Valley is blocking the left lane. Traffic is slow, 10-minute delays all the way from Edgemere up to Iron Medics. Another crash on Gateway North at Paisano is blocking the left lane, causing delays. And eastbound Montana is slow from Yarborough out to Zaragoza. 10-minute delays. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
These days, high prices are forcing Americans to make hard decisions.
Do I buy the toothpaste or the toilet paper?
We have a better way. Inflation compensation. $1,000 price bustin' prize. Be listening for your shot to win a grand.
Inflation compensation on News Radio 690 AM is brought to you by Mazer Security Systems, providing El Pasoans state-of-the-art protection and peace of mind for more than 30 years.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Want to save big on custom faux wood blinds, shutters, cellular shades, and more? Shop Blindster today and save up to 50% over comparable blinds from brick and mortar stores. Get custom blinds at low prices and free shipping at Blindster.com.
Jesse Kelly here. Do you feel protected? My personal protection plan is owning gold. The Oxford Gold Group helps you buy gold to have on hand or convert it into your 401k. If things get weird, I have gold on hand. I like that. You can buy coins or convert part of your 401k with the Oxford Gold Group. It's easy and safe. 833-995-GOLD. That's 833-995-GOLD. 833-995-GOLD.
Looking for top-notch personal protection? The Smith & Wesson Equalizer is here to level the playing field. Easy to rack slide, easy to control ergonomic grip. It's designed for you. With a 10, 13, and 15-round magazine included, size up for better control or size down for easier concealment. Don't miss out on the opportunity to upgrade your safety. Visit your local dealer now. To learn more about the Equalizer, visit smith-wesson.com. Smith & Wesson, empowering Americans. All capacity sizes may not be available in your jurisdiction. Be sure to check your local laws and regulations.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Hi, this is Dr. Brad Schaefer. As a podiatrist, I can tell you no two people's feet are alike, which is why I recommend Dr. Scholl's custom fit orthotic inserts. They're customized for your feet, so you get a unique solution your feet really need, not just a one-size-fits-all insole. They're clinically proven to provide pain relief for achy feet, knees, lower back, plantar fasciitis, and heels. Take the Dr. Scholl's custom fit orthotics assessment in Walmart today, now in the foot care aisle.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of commentary coming in here on what has probably been the predominant news topic of the week. Not surprising, nor out of form here. It is Free for All Friday, y'all. But if you don't want to call in on this or any other issues going on, either locally here, we do have a couple of city council candidates actually now. Both mentioned Veronica Carvajal haven't actually done the full filing. We were commenting on that part of it. But also now Josh Acevedo, a current EPISD Board of Trustee members, throwing his hat in the ring as well. So we got at least a couple candidates. So no, it's not going to be a pass-through election. And also, at least the one I mentioned that I want to get to before we get too much further before the end of this show here is that in Texas overall, Governor Greg Abbott, headline from the Texas Tribune, Governor Greg Abbott says he'll add teacher pay to the special session, but only if lawmakers pass school voucher bill. So a little bit of not exactly tit for tat, but carrot and stick, maybe a little bit closer to it. So maybe we'll get it, but we'll see how this whole special session goes. Not holding my breath on any part of it happening. It has gone through the Senate, but the House is where the real challenge was going to be in the first place. Anyway, that's just a couple mentions I want to get into. We'll certainly be talking about that next week, but let's keep this Free for All Friday train going. Again, if you want to get on the line, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Couple of comments do want to get to here, including a lot of biblical references. I mean, we had some talk of prophecy earlier, so not totally surprising, but at least one here. I have heard this as well. Buddy Via saying, I've heard people say what is happening to the Jews is punishment for what they did to Jesus. I have very much heard that phrase. It kind of fits in the same vein of anytime there is a catastrophe in Japan, it's payback for Pearl Harbor. And the same level of stupidity anyway. But the only reasonable thing I've ever heard in that type of allusion is that God punished the Romans for what they did to his only begotten son by turning them into Italians. Before anyone comes after me after that, got Italian heritage that I'm very proud of, but it's kind of a funny joke. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back to those phone lines here right now, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Marco and Central on the line with us here right now. Marco, thanks for joining us.
How's it going, Andrew?
Doing all right there. What's on your mind?
Well, I want to say you're right. You're right on the conflict in Israel, because I think both can exist. You can both have empathy and sympathy for Israel and want peace for Israel, but you can also be against apartheid and the gulag that exists in the Gaza Strip. I know most people want to give you a Hegelian dialectic and tell you, no, choose one or the other. Mm-hmm. And that's, no, we can walk and chew gum in this show. So I'm glad you stand your ground on that. Both can exist. But I don't want to talk about that conflict that's going on.
Fair enough.
The reason I want to talk to you today is because it's Friday, and I want to talk about future news.
Okay.
Because that's what your show's awesome. You are on the cutting edge of news.
Try to be.
And more people are going to listen, okay? But let's talk about nuclear proliferation.
Okay.
See, most people think that the United States, Russia, China, Britain, France are the only countries that have nuclear weapons. I want everybody to know that nuclear proliferation in the early 2000s went rapidly out of control. There's many good articles out there that exist on the conversation of nuclear proliferation. So let's talk about the countries that very few people know have nuclear weapons. Let me give you one right here. Ready? And this will probably come as a shock to most people, but I guarantee you there are many places that you can go get this information. Saudi Arabia, they have nuclear weapons, I guarantee you. Israel has nuclear weapons. I guarantee you Iran has nuclear weapons. Let me give you a little country that had the third most nuclear stockpile in the world that gave it up to Russia, Kazakhstan. And the king of Kazakhstan gave it up and created Astana. It's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. They call it the Masonic City. Well, what other countries have nuclear bombs in this world that fight over little pieces of land? How about Pakistan and India fighting over Kashmir? That can go nuclear in any time. And they clash often. Let me say that again. Pakistan and India clash in Kashmir often. You don't hear about that in the news because it's just so far away. We get this here, have milk and cookies kind of news. look, I even guarantee you North Korea has it. Japan probably has nuclear weapons. If we don't think that Taiwan does not have nuclear weapons on that island, we're foolish. I mean, nuclear weapons in this world are everywhere. And that, I don't know how you put the Pandora's box back in the box. You just can't. It's been opened. And so that's an issue that we should talk about. This is why I wish level heads in America wouldn't talk about open genocide of a certain people in Pakistan, or not in Pakistan, the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. That what we're condoning there out of our anger for what happened to an Israeli basically rave, which by the way is really stupid, okay? That was a stupid move. You're having a rave right there in the face of basically Hamas. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? We have this level of ignorance that's really just astonishing. You have schools in America having Black Lives Matter with a, hey, I'm proud that a dude in a paraglider with a motor came and killed a bunch of ravers. I mean, yeah, that's something really proud to be proud of, guys, in the colleges. This is madness. And now, on top of that madness, let's add what the Biden administration has done to our border. If we sit here and we say there's nothing wrong with the border, that would be foolishness and a lie. And that would be something that Mayor Leeser would say. But let's talk about the 1% to 2% that aren't South American, that are Middle Eastern, that are probably members of Hamas or Al-Qaeda or AQA. You just get a bunch of lone wolves all over America, and they will light this place up faster than they did in 9/11. What are the politicians going to say then? Oh, well, we didn't know? Yeah, you did know. You had a porous border that allowed massive amounts of terrorists to come into America. What's going to be your excuse then? You'll have no excuse. See, the problems can be solved, but the people have to wake up. And we've been talking about this all week. And I'm going to say it like this. I'm going to leave you with this. Please, people, it starts locally here. I'm running for mayor, but I'm not just running for mayor of El Paso. I'm running for mayor because I want to restore sanity, reason, have conversations that aren't had in the public square, because I believe these issues are that important. That's why I'm running for mayor. I am the man in the window saying, I am tired as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And so, look, take your freedom seriously, guys, because that can be taken away immediately. The people in Israel have freedom for now, but they are quickly going to a security state. There's a great movie that's about to come out by Dinesh D'Souza called, I guess, Prison United States, whatever you want to call it, Prison Planet, because that's where we're heading. And another thing I want to say, when I tell you, and I visit you at your home, and we start talking, I want you to understand that I'm not asking you for a vote. I'm asking you to exercise your voice. Be serious about your vote. Stop taking it. You don't have to take it. We don't have to put up with these smug, elite politicians that think they know better as we watch our country in flames and as we watch the world in flames. Please, guys, I'm going to be coming to your homes very soon, and we're going to have a discussion about your freedoms and your ability to exercise your freedoms. Take it serious. Go out and vote. I love you guys. Marco for mayor. Love you guys.
Well, appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Have a good one, Andrew. Take care, brother.
Let me just say this on that. Actually, Pakistan and India is actually beyond the nuclear conflict aspect. The source of the conflict is actually one of the biggest mass migrations of people fleeing from one state into another along religious not exactly racial boundaries, though there was ethnic aspects of it here. What was the estimate? About 12 to 15 million people had to flee from one side of the border after the other. Okay, there's a whole lot of recent world history that can be traced to some English person, probably a Brit, maybe from France, though, drawing a line on a map and saying, yeah, that's how we'll do this now. And that can be read as part of what's going on in the Middle East, even to like the existence of Iraq, Kurdistan, or the concept of it. And then Pakistan and India they were all basically British owned, and they said, well, we're not in charge of it anymore, so we're just going to draw this line, and Muslims go over here, Indians and, the Hindus go over here, displacing, it's being called one of the greatest mass migrations in history. So I'm just saying that wasn't great. And when you talk about moving people and having large amounts of people put in places that they weren't necessarily already, but because of other political, religious, economic, whatever reasons they are being forced to move, so doesn't work out great. And that's part of the reason that, that simmering conflict still happens. Though also in that region, don't think China isn't involved in that either. They've often had all the way from really angry snowball fights to fist fights to actual rounds being fired, particularly with India, but a little bit with Pakistan as well. It's kind of a mess in that whole area, but not quite as much as this one because, well, at the very least, we're not as close of allies with any of those particular ones, even if we do give them millions in foreign funding every year. Anyway, point is that nuclear proliferation, that is never going back in. Yeah, that genie's never going back in the bottle. And I'm pretty sure that North Korea has it. I'm pretty sure Israel has had it, even if they won't ever admit to it. There's been a lot of estimates over the years about it. At the very least, there's been more than a few nuclear weapons that have gone missing, like accidentally dropped from both from U.S. and from Russian stuff as well. Never mind the kleptocracy that existed for quite a bit and still arguably does within that country from Russia as well. So there's probably a lot more nukes out there, and the fact that someone hasn't lit up one of these significant sites has been a minor miracle, but relying on miracles only. I mean, pray all you want, but it works. Works not words is another way to put it. And God helps those who help themselves, which I know is not in the Bible, but still, it's a pretty powerful phrase. Or another one to put it more secularly: the harder I work, the luckier I get. Meaning that you got to put in the work to be able to get the stuff out of here. Anyway, let's go and take that next break right now. We got more calls in line and a whole lot more commentary that's been going on, but let's go ahead and take that break right now. And again, if you want to add your 2 cents via the phone line, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
I'm Vanna Garcia with your CBS 4 headlines. A man was arrested and accused of stealing over $50,000 from an elderly couple. Officers arrested 44-year-old Jesus Rodriguez. Officials say the couple, a 88-year-old and a 92-year-old, report to police that Rodriguez had used their money in their bank account without their consent in February. The investigation revealed that Rodriguez took over $56,000 in 3 months to pay his credit card bills. Rodriguez was detained by customs at the Paso del Norte port of entry for the outstanding warrant. He is being charged with exploitation of the elderly. For more local headlines, you can check out our website at cbs4local.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A crash in the East Valley causing big delays. Southbound on the Loop 375 before Montana. An accident from earlier still partially blocking the left lane, causing 18-minute delays between Pebble Hill and the Spur. Gateway North at Paisano. An accident from earlier blocking the left lane, causing delays. Stop and go traffic on the I-10 eastbound in the Upper Valley still. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Overall, fairly quiet weather for the weekend. Winds not going to be an issue. We're going to see nice, cool mornings and warm afternoons. High around 84 degrees, mostly sunny skies for your Saturday afternoon. Mostly sunny for your Sunday, high around 85. As we look into next week, Monday, a little cooler, partly cloudy skies, high around 83. And then we'll see partly cloudy skies for your Tuesday, high 87. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Pfizer.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. If you're like many people, you may think custom blinds is a job for expensive professionals. Well, at Blindster, if you have a tape measure and a screwdriver, you can install our custom blinds and save big. Plus, we guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
Protection for all, peace of mind for you. For over 40 years, Mazer Security Alarms has proudly served El Paso with superior service and superior protection. You can afford the best. For your free quote or to upgrade your existing system, call Mazer Security Alarms at 915-590-0033.
Every day, you breathe in thousands of microscopic germs, allergens, and viruses. Don't let these invisible invaders make breathing through your nose impossible. Flush them out with Navage. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril around the back of the nose and out the other nostril, helping flush out all the nasty things that make you miserable. Nearly 4 million people use Navage to breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier. People like Cindy, a verified Navage user who writes, "I've had such awful nasal congestion for the last couple of years. I bought Navage and OMG, I can breathe again. I love this thing. Goodbye, Neti Pot. Hello, Navage." End quote. If you suffer from sinus congestion, allergies, or snoring, then Navage is the safe, drug-free solution you've been looking for. Navage is at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, and Navage.com. Navage. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. If you're like many people, you may think custom blinds is a job for expensive professionals. Well, at Blindster, if you have a tape measure and a screwdriver, you can install our custom blinds and save big. Plus, we guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Like the ability and those dropping those likes and reacts that we certainly do appreciate, including James Holmes, Rick Reyes, Ida Beza Gardner, Richard Janaseek, James Radcliffe, Calvin Williams, RJ, Sean Gardner, and Buddy Valles. Again, that's just over on the Facebook, so don't worry. It's not about ignoring the rest of the mediums we're on out there, but that's where the likes and reacts come in. But if you want to give us a like, share, tell a friend, subscribe, whatever the right way is for the medium that you're on or listening to us, we do appreciate it to help keep us with having live local talk radio and talking about the things that affect us here in the borderland and beyond, as is the focus for Friday, Free for All Friday, one of our most important days of the week, at least I'll argue it, and a lot of commentary coming in and a lot of other things, but of course Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. They do have Ram Power Days, Jeep Adventure Days, and a whole lot of great sales for the spooky season going on, including 10% off MSRP on select 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokees for well-qualified buyers. See them for details over at 950 Crockett Street, right across I-10 from the Shops at Solana. I don't know if I'm saying that in the right way, but former Sunland Park Mall, Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. So a lot of commentary and other things being discussed here. One thing I want to make sure we mention before we end up hitting that, getting close to the end of the hour, but we'll still take a few more calls here. Again, that number 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. There is going to be that annulary eclipse happening, not right in our area, but basically all around us. Well, north and east anyway, because I think if you head like to the Midland and Odessa area, you'd see it. If you head up to like Albuquerque, you'd see it. So the annulary eclipse being the one where it's the ring of fire, quote unquote. It's the reason that you've been seeing all of those. If you looked in like a big box store, it's not going to mention any specifically, they've been having the eclipse glasses for sale. Yes, I definitely got some because I'm that kind of a astronomy nerd or like seeing phenomena like this. So we're going to see a big chunk taken out of the sun. It's going to be happening, I want to say around our region, if I looked at it right, roughly late morning to midday-ish that we'll be able to see it. We're not in the total path of, not totality in this case, because the moon will not seem to be the same apparent size as the sun in this case. So that's why the lid to it, the whole ring of fire thing, but it'll still be an interesting celestial phenomenon. Just remember, don't stare at the sun, even if it's partially covered by the moon, because it still has way more enough power to do some searing of your retinas. So be careful, or NASA will also stream it. Anyway, a lot of things to be, it'll be an exciting one over the weekend happening there. And there is another one coming in then in 2024. So check out that as well. In any case, getting back to those phone lines here, we do have Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Andrew. really wasn't going to talk about the Israeli terrorist attack, but when I was watching it over on Saturday, what I saw was a bunch of things that were killing people. And these things were nothing more than demons from the devil. They were just swarming just like demons do. And that's my comment on the Israeli thing. I would like, what do you, I mean, okay, I'm obviously not going to get any response from me on that, but the other thing I want to do is I mentioned this before this last week. Anybody that's flying the American flag, take down that American flag, buy yourself a Betsy Ross flag, and symbolizing that we reject what's happening in the United States with our government, the way it's being run, and that we need to get back to the founding principles of the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and our Bill of Rights. Please do this. Start a movement.
Fair enough. Yeah. And again, I certainly appreciate that more than the idea of, and someone had emailed me, don't worry, I saw the response here too. And it was the area I saw that someone flying it upside down, which is, it's wrong in a few levels. I get the protest aspect of it, but there are better ways and better symbological ways to do that here. I believe you're referring to the one with the new constellation that existed on it in the circle for the original one, the way it was described by the Continental Congress, right?
No, it's not the news constellation. It's it's 13 stars in a circle that symbolize the 13 original states, original colonies. Okay, that's what the Betsy Ross flag is about. It has to do with the 13 original colonies and what we went to war with Great Britain about.
Sure. So we're referring to the same thing here. What I was referring to was the actual original description by the 1777 Second Continental Congress, which passed the flag resolution, which stated resolved that the flag of the United States be 13 stripes, alternate red and white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation, that being the circle.
Okay. Whatever. Anyway, I hope people will do that. What's happening in the United States right now with our government, the way it's that we've having it run right now, we've got to get away from that. We've got almost $34 trillion in debt. We can't keep on doing this.
Fair enough here. Well, appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Yeah, Andrew. And stay well, stay safe. God bless. And let's go, Brandon.
Fair enough here. What I will say is this here, and I wasn't intending to not respond to, I was giving you a chance to say what you're going to say, but here's the thing about calling humans, anytime they exist, as anything less than, different than, it's a coping factor, because it becomes so hard to imagine that someone with which we share some very basic attributes of anatomy, humanity, mentality, and things like that it's hard. It's really hard. Speaking about Hitler, as has come up a few times, there's actually a picture of him just petting a German Shepherd, just petting a dog. And so many people have commented in places I've seen online on that, the idea of why does this almost upset them or disturb them more than even things they've seen about like concentration camps or atrocities of war or horror scenes that have existed from the aftermath of conflict. Because think about it this way. It is real easy to think that, oh, they aren't like us. This is something else. This is something different. This is something I could never do. And therefore, they are not even the same basic category of being as I am. But the fact of the matter is that throughout history, man's inhumanity to man, which is and has been and will very likely, unless a whole lot of things change, continue to be the predominant cause of human suffering. Full stop. And the idea that this is anything else besides other humans, other people doing these things is shocking to the conscience. And to be able to accept that for yourself as, yeah, that's another person who has done these atrocities, who has done these horrific things. I mean, pick out any of these people throughout history. Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, pick out your, tin pot, crackpot dictators. I mean, there have been way more of them. And going back in history, Caligula, we was having a discussion about that the other day with someone. They were all human. They were all people. And they, through their lives and through their actions, ended up becoming, well, the names and the reason that they live in infamy as they will forever, for as long as history chooses and definitely should remember them. And it almost sounds cruel to say it, and it's a coping mechanism to try to call them anything, but that's ultimately what it ends up being. And I don't necessarily fault with anyone with it. It's often hard to take a true hard look at history. Another phrase that comes to mind anytime history only makes you proud probably means that you're not studying history. You are studying a narrative that has been crafted out of it and often leaving the bad bits behind. And this is not to say in any defense of the people who have committed atrocities. They are and can and should be held to account for those. But they are people. And that is terrifying, essentially, that a person could make a decision to do something like that so wantonly, so disregarding of other humanities. It is it's one of the most difficult things that study of history often comes along with, because it's super easy to other someone, right? To say that, oh, they are unlike us. They don't understand our ways. They don't even qualify as us anymore. Therefore, we don't have to apply the same concepts, the same reasoning to them. And yet that is, unfortunately, the first step on that brilliant little primrose path that leads to far more bodies being stacked in other actions. Because once you start dehumanizing people, that is exactly the process that began for those that you want to no longer categorize it as such. So it's often difficult to maintain a level of perspective on this, because, again, what the people that attacked, like that music festival, rave, whatever you want to call it, or any of the other things we were talking about there, is not justifiable in any way, shape, or form. And anyone arguing with it is ignoring what has happened there and the impact on individual people. But then at times, a lot of this conversation ends up completely ignoring so many other aspects of the larger conflicts and what has been put into this. Again, tit for tat, or another way to put it, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. And we have so many pricks and, well, slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, among other things, but also of decisions people have made to disregard the humanity of others, of they aren't like us, they aren't the part of it. So I get it. I don't even necessarily blame you in any way, shape, or form. But when we talk about people, it's important to remember we are talking about people, and people are going to keep doing the things that they do and need to be held account for it. We got to take that next break right now. I know we've had a couple more calls percolate in, but we're about out of time here. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso we got coming up for you next week after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Back in a minute.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Got two big delays across the borderland, each almost 20 minutes long. One in the East Valley Memorial Highway between the Spur and Pebble Hill due to a crash southbound on Loop 375 just before Montana. Upper Valley I-10 eastbound from Vinton to Artcraft is a 17-minute delay. Eastbound Montana is slow from Yarborough out to Zaragoza with a 7-minute delay. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. If you're like many people, you may think custom blinds is a job for expensive professionals. Well, at Blindster, if you have a tape measure and a screwdriver, you can install our custom blinds and save big. Plus, we guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
Hey guys, this is Andrew J. Polk. My not-so-secret way of looking and feeling great is going to Hammer and Nails, El Paso's newest men's grooming destination, with everything about your personal grooming, privacy, and comfort in mind. Ready with your favorite drink at the door. They offer everything from head to toe, hair, beard, mustache, and hand and foot services. You want to find out about their full services and their great memberships. Of course, find them online, hammerandnailsgrooming.com. That's hammer, A-N-D, nailsgrooming.com. And I'll see you there. The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the 4-day super sale, October 13th through the 16th, and get 40% off paints and stains with prices starting at $26.69. That means 40% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 40% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Now you can get a Walmart Plus membership, plus not pay for it, because it's included with Straight Talk wireless plans. You get free delivery with Walmart Plus a Paramount Plus subscription included. Plus, you pay less for gas. That's a lot of pluses.
Only Straight Talk gives you unlimited 5G data and Walmart Plus included on select plans for free.
Straight Talk Wireless, available at Walmart.
Requires service on Gold or Platinum Unlimited. One offer per eligible account. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. Additional terms apply.
Did you know that only 2 in 10 El Paso County students graduate with a bachelor's degree? By supporting Border Youth Athletic Association's mission of educational attainment, you will create a long-lasting impact in our students' lives. Your monthly donation enables 4th through 12th grade students access to after-school programs, providing a safe and healthy environment. BYAA engages and empowers El Paso's future through mentorship and leadership development. We believe every player who gets an education wins. Do you? Go to borderyouth.org and show your support for our youth today.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk. I want to thank everyone that did tune in, call and comment, participate in the show. We're at the end here of this one, but we got a lot more coming out for you, among other things, including, we got elections coming up, both the Texas constitutional amendment elections. That'll be in November. Then in December, a city council election. And then we got primaries coming up in March and onward. So it's going to be a busy calendar that way. So we'll start getting into some of those things and those candidates. And maybe not immediately when it comes to the race for city council district number 2, as there's possibly more, at least 2 or where. So we got a race at the first part, but we'll talk more about that, as well as more on probably some transportation projects. We got a lot going on the roads here. So we'll be checking in on that, among other things. But we'll leave you with this thought here. We had one comment come in off air before we wasn't able to get it on here, and passed along as "Stop defending those baby killers, man," was the quote I was given. If ever there was a case in point of missing the point, I think it would be that. Because if you take, again, what we started off this show saying, that atrocity never justifies further atrocity, and that all of these things being done, I mean, people may see the hand of the Almighty, prophecy living in this, but it's undeniable that all the actions that have been taken so far, unless we're going extraterrestrial with this, have been taken by humans, by human beings, by people making decisions to do things. And if that sounds like, by saying that someone who has committed a heinous act, calling them a person, sounds like defending them to you, I got to say, you don't even have to duck to let that point go right over your head here, because that's the real part of it, is that all of this is being done by humans on every side, in every facet of this conflict. Humans are both the victims and the perpetrators of this. And we don't like to think about ourselves or humanity in general as that being the possible for them. We don't like to think about the good things, the justified, the needed things, justice, and maybe the occasional bit of vengeance. And I think that occasional bit has what is really slotted in here and become the predominant bits of, every almost action that has happened here. So if you're going to take that as defense of someone here, every person who has ever killed someone was a human being. You may not want to call them that, but if you're to say that they were literally a different species and not part of the human race, well, then you're just lying to yourself. And again, that's existentially terrifying, to think that someone who has done anything so awful, and don't get me wrong, awful is an understatement here in this case, but just call that the defense of them here is I got to tell you, you got to take a good look, a long, hard look in the mirror for yourself and understand what is actually going on here. There's about one only thing that I really cannot conscience in any way, and that's willful ignorance. So you don't have to agree with me on this show, but you best come correct. And if you're just going to call and hang up when you don't get your way, good luck to you out there. But we'll do it again tomorrow, well, at next week, as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Coming up here for you on the El Paso History Radio Show this weekend, revisiting some of our still great, most recent episodes, including about the Trinity site, the Oppenheimer movie coming out, and the events and the commemorations of it going on at the International Museum of Space History and the International Space Hall of Fame. But we'll talk more about that. That's tomorrow, 10 to noon here on News Radio 690 KTSM. But we'll have to leave it there for today. Super out of time. I want to thank, again, everyone that did it. Tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. We'll do it again Monday, as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. So until then, until next time, I want you all to stay safe, look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great weekend, y'all. Take a look at that annular eclipse if you can, but be safe about it, and have a great weekend. See you all next time.